It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey everybody, welcome in. My name is Chris. If this show were a color, it would be clear. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you're doing so very well. It's really my honor to get to talk with you. This is a big show. If you're listening right now, if you're, right like today, here at the end of April, welcome. I also know this particular episode tends to be a bit evergreen, so you might be listening back a little bit, listening from the future. Welcome to the past. I'm Chris. What's the future like? Do they have flying cars yet? This show kind of marks the end of my slower time of year because it's really time to start digging in and get cracking and get started on the 2026 season in earnest. My first task toward that end is do my best and take a stab at some initial ranks for the 2026 fantasy football season, which is still a long way off, but it's not quite as long. It's kind of exciting. I'm psyched. Now that the NFL draft is over, we know most of what each team's depth chart looks like. There will, of course, be changes between now and September, and injuries and contract holdouts and who knows what else. But the big picture stuff is, I think you'd say mostly settled. Jeremiah Love is a Cardinal. Carnell Tate is a Titan. Stay tuned for my full list of 32 teams and their draft grades. Oh, wait, I am touching my fictional earpiece and being told that I absolutely will not be giving draft grades because it's completely and totally insane to do that. And like you, I'm getting better and better at practicing click discipline. So, I'm not going to give a huge long preamble to the main part of the show today. You're here to get actual conversations about some players and how they might fit into your ranks for this coming season. So we'll get to that pretty quick here. Let me just set the table schedule-wise for the show. Today's show will be about running backs and tight ends. Next Thursday's show will be about wide receivers and quarterbacks. And then, as I've done every year for a decade, the Thursday show goes on hiatus. And it will be back in July when we start digging in after I've spent the rest of the spring and the early part of the summer watching a bunch of film and writing the almanac. But, of course, the difference this year is that we also have the Yacht Club. So if you're in the Yacht Club, you will keep hearing from me. You will be getting Monday shows once per week throughout the year. I think, once we get in season, it'll probably switch back to Wednesdays. But for now, until the main show comes back, it'll be on Mondays. This coming Monday, Andy Behrens and I will be doing a Film Futures or whatever it's called. Probably also talking a bit more about these running back and tight end ranks that we're going to talk about today, maybe getting some conflicting opinions out of Andy. Of course, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. It's $5 a month. Would be happy to have you. We're also going to do other stuff on the Yacht Club this spring and summer. Maybe expand your horizons a little bit. Andy, in a couple of weeks, I'm really looking forward to it. I know nothing about the WNBA. He's going to do a preview of the season, some massive changes across the league, apparently. We're going to do a Yacht Club book club where we're all going to read a short novel together, and we're going to talk about it once we've all read it on the podcast. We're trying out The City and the City by China Mieville. I read that a long time ago. I liked it a lot at the time. So yeah, if you'd like to stay in touch, keep hearing my voice. Obviously, we're also going to be talking football throughout the process of me writing the almanac as well. You can find out how to subscribe at harrisfootball.com. I think that's about it, although I haven't, I haven't 100% committed to doing a mini book tour in August, but I'm kind of leaning in that direction. I've heard from several folks, several listeners who volunteered to help find a good place in their city. It's a very spread out group of people wrote in, so I don't really have direction yet on where I'll go if I go, but I just, I'll mention again that if you'd like to write me, hey, Harris at harrisfootball.com. I have a new novel that I am putting out myself. I'm publishing it. The press, if you haven't heard yet, is called Cumulative Press. This is going to be a whole thing. I'm going to be relying on a lot of you to to help me out here because I've never done this before. The novel is about football. I'm very proud of it. It's called Pound Foolish. You'll be hearing more about that. But anyway, I figured I'd do a few readings in August. But also at the same time that we do a reading, also just meet a bunch of you and talk about the upcoming season and have fun in that way. If you'd like to help me find out where in your city I can do that on like a weeknight or a weekend day, maybe a bar or a restaurant that has a PA, or we can find a PA. If you own a bookshop, something like that. Anyway, if it sounds fun and you'd like to meet me and lend a hand, heyharris@harrisfootball.com. To the several folks who already emailed in, thank you so much. I've got your emails. I promise I will write you back. I just haven't written back yet because I'm trying to get a sense of if there winds up being any geographic pattern, if I could do sort of regional. But when I have more details the next few weeks or so, I promise I will write everyone back who's written to me. Thank you for that. And yeah, this is going to be a blast. Today, I had a great time going through the initial ranks process. What do you say we talk about it?
Today's kickoff.
Indeed. On today's show, it's one topic. It's me. It's Cousin Josh. It is my initial running back and tight end ranks, which you can find on the website and also in the show notes. Josh is going to go through these ranks with us, and he's going to ask some questions about the most interesting guys to him. You can start to see where my opinions are shaping up and maybe where yours vary a little bit from mine, which is great. This is it. This is the beginning. I'm extremely excited for it. I thank you again so much for listening today. We are sponsored for today's big show by Leesa. If you haven't been sleeping great, you can't figure out why, you might then remember, oh, right, it's been a long time since I got a new mattress. And if it is that time, you know what I'm going to say. I absolutely swear by Leesa. They've been partners with me for the better part of a decade, and I sleep on a Leesa mattress every single night. It's a great company. These are American-made in an American factory. They donate thousands of beds to shelters, and they give you 4 months to sleep on your new bed. If you don't love it, tell them, and they will make it right. They've got several different mattress feels to match your needs, and all I can say is I seriously love my bed, so I would love it. The next time you need a mattress, maybe you could remember Leesa. Get those 4 months to sleep on your new one. It is their early access Memorial Day sale right now. 25% off select mattresses at leesa.com. And if you use the code Harris, that's another $50 off the top as well. Leesa.com for 25% off, and for another $50 off, use that code Harris.
Today's guest.
Mess around with some $10 gear. He needs high quality in a trunk. It's the eye of the swimsuit. It's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the midpoint of our femur. And he'll take a recommendation, but don't you be surprised when he models in front of his wife. Tiny swim trunks.
Tiny swim trunks. My goodness. Now, so Cousin Josh hasn't been on the show in a long time. He came on the Yacht Club show to do the movie, the second movie episode. But other, he hasn't been here to talk about football in 4 months or something like that. And I said, Josh, you have the most walk-up songs by like triple of anybody there is on this show. And I don't have any, so like you infinitely more than I do. You have your choice of all of them. What do you want? And you said?
I have the swimsuit.
I had the swimsuit. It's a new favorite.
Look, it's great to be loved by so many. I wish growing up I had that same love from my parents, but it's fine. Didn't get it from my parents, but I'll get it from the fans, Chris. You can't win them all.
We're all parenting you. That's what we're doing. We're all parenting you. So Josh Van Blank, great job. Obviously, you've created Josh's we don't want to stick our thumb in the eye of the great ones that have come before. This is the one that's freshest in your mind. It's new from this past year. It's up there with the greats, and it's what you wanted to hear. So what can you do? How excited are you to be here today? Obviously, you're always the kind of the host of this Ranks Reveal show, where you get to interrogate the ranks, turn the tables on me. What the hell are you thinking, Harris? How pumped are you?
It's great. I actually look forward to this podcast. Not that I don't look forward to the other ones. Sometimes they're a little redundant as I get to the end of the year. I'm just like, oh man, feel like Ripken, man. I'm just like, I'm at 2,000 games in a row now. This is great because I always get the ranks and I don't start my rankings until June. So I look at this and I'm like, does that sound right? That seems off. So I do look forward to this because once in a while I'll bold some people. I'm like, there's no way that's right. But I'd say you've been pretty good with these. I think there's one or two that I'm like, all right, that seems off, but yeah, I look forward to this. I really do because it gives me like a, hey, Josh, get ready in 4 to 5 weeks. You have to start doing your ranks because I usually start to touch stuff in June, so it's nice.
Yeah, and I, of course, in this particular business that I'm in, I'm the very last person to have created ranks. Obviously, people have been modifying their ranks since February and like tweaking RB27. They got to make sure they got it right. But this is it. They're on the website. Right now, what's going to be on the website is what the positions Josh and I will be talking about today, which is running back and tight end. And then next week, Josh will be back and we'll talk about wide receiver, quarterback. And I may, I could just throw it in there again. Like if you want to get the almanac, this is the beginning of me writing the almanac, making these ranks. I spent hours on them. I didn't watch a ton of film. I will do that when I write the almanac, but the almanac now you can pre-order it at harrisfootball.com. And so, yeah, you can do that. Otherwise, I think we can probably just proceed. Let me ask you this. Did you try to find average draft position anywhere to sanity check my ranks?
I Googled, I looked around on the ones that kind of popped to me. I bolded about 5 in the first 20, and all but 2 were kind of pretty much consensus. I was like, okay,
What?
cool.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Although,
No.
actually, no, 3. There were 3. There were 3. And I wrote, this person will be a flag player, and then the other 2 you just won't own. So there were only 3. And in the first 10, you were pretty close. I mean, on a lot of these. I think your 10 through 20, 25, you'll have some changes where I think there's going to be some players you'll own no shares of.
I guess that makes sense. And I will not be looking at average draft position. If, you and I for now a few years in a row have been saying, is there really even such a thing as ADP anymore?
Yeah.
Is it simply about whatever platform the default ranks on the platform you play on? Is that the only thing that really matters? Possibly. So, whether or not Fantasy Pros really does good. The problem with ADP this time of year, we say it all the time, is that it's based on best ball. And my God, I don't want to draft in August based on best ball. Just because somebody got fidgety in March and decided they needed to spend $10,000 to do a best ball tournament in which they didn't have to worry about downside at all. And that's going to be the thing that controls how we draft for redraft leagues in August. It's just totally deranged. But I'll just say I'm not that shocked, honestly, to hear that about the top, about the RB1s, because there's a pretty clear separation. There's a bunch of really obvious RB1s, and I guess I'm not that surprised. I'm not going to really interrogate it, but just hearing that in general, I'm not shocked.
You want to get going?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll kick things off. I'll do them in groups. I know I usually do it like this. I do tiers, but I think your top 4, you got number 1, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey. I just do want to stop here quickly. I think that's going to be your standard 4 in most drafts. I would probably switch Robinson and Gibbs, but they're interchangeable. I will say this. At number 4, you're on the clock, and we'll do this every year. The Christian McCaffrey stuff, is that just one of these where you sit here and you click and pray and go, the guy did, 2,100 yards and 17 TDs, and when he's playing, he's probably the RB1 each week. And it's just, that's that.
Yeah.
I know it's factored in, but I see it and I go, I know it's the right thing to do, but it's just still, I go, oh, I tell you,
Back in December, you had McCaffrey as your 7 overall. Yeah. So you're a little more skeptical than I am. I had him as my 4. In fact, this is the order that I had my 4 back in December. I certainly might have changed it, but I didn't. And yeah, the answer is there's going to be a year where McCaffrey falls down and can't get up again. Just as that's true with Saquon, we haven't talked about yet. There's guys who are rounding 3rd, but for as long as McCaffrey's good, boy, should McCaffrey have been the RB1 last year? Do you now argue? Probably. But it was real hard to make that call then.
Yeah. I won my home league, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. I picked 12. We'll move on. Next group, we got James Cook at 5, Saquon Barkley at 6, De'Von Achane at 7, Josh Jacobs at 8, and 9, Ashton Jeanty. I'll stop here. It's funny. I looked at this and go, Josh Jacobs again. Is Chris doing his thing where he just likes these guys? And then I kind of looked around and I'm like, nah, he's kind of like 8 to 10. And I looked who he had afterwards and I said, you could do a lot worse at taking a guy who's still just 28. And I'm like, wait, is it just like Marshawn Lloyd and a bunch of, yeah, Chris Brooks and a bunch of garbage there? And I'm like, he's still a good running back. And I know what he did at the second half of the year. And that's what you're going to hear that from everyone is like, man, was he fatigued at the end of the year? And like,
I got hurt. Everybody knows.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think you
they
could
can
do a
all
lot
get hurt.
worse than taking Jacobs at kind of in a standard end of round one, early round two, and pairing them up. Was there anyone in here only because I know you're not a fan of Little Bones sometimes, but I think what we saw from Achan at the end of the season, a little bit more confidence now?
Not, I had HN and Jacobs flip-flopped when we did this back in December, and I think it's real close. And the competing market pressures on tiny boned De'Von Achane are going to be really interesting because they're going to be the people who say, who else is there? There's Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon. They weren't much of a threat last year. How are they going to really be much of a threat this year? And also, there's nothing else in that offense. Achane's just sort of locked into 7 million touches. And then there's other people saying, I'm positive the Dolphins are going to go 1-16 and score 4 points a game. And so there's just no touchdowns there. So in my spreadsheet, I'm not going to make a spreadsheet, obviously, but, in the fictitious person I'm making up in my head to get mad at, that person is going to project HN for 4 touchdowns because the Dolphins are so bad. And that means he should be the RB10. So I don't really know. I still am concerned that he gets hurt, and every time he goes down, I'm like, oh, geez. But of course, as the years have gone by, like he's lasted better and longer than I thought he would. And, last year I was sort of putting HN and Bucky Irving in the same bucket, and Irving didn't really do anything when he was healthy to change my mind about it. I kind of like Bucky Irving as a player a little more, but he just didn't play half the, So like I felt like now I'm kind of, I hate to judge this stuff by the scoreboard, but you kind of just a little bit. HN isn't my cup of tea, but I feel like I am kind of like going scoreboard.
Yeah, this has been pretty consistent for like the first 9 guys in some order. Again, I think I've seen somewhere Jacobs is like 10, and there might be 1 or 2 people switch, like whether it's Henry or whoever. But I think this is pretty consensus, and I don't think it's going to change too much. I mean, you might get some storylines of Genty eating lunch with Mendoza, and all of a sudden it's like, dude, these guys are, I mean, you know how that goes. And all of a sudden he pops up to 7. But
right. You didn't say, but Genty, I put at 9. And that's, there's a way for that to go better. And I didn't have him right there at the end of the year. And like, I said this in the yacht club on Monday with Andy, but please don't tell me about how well, actually, Genty's season wasn't that bad. He finishes the RB15. Cool. He had a quarter of his fantasy points in 2 games.
It's brutal. It was brutal.
Like, it was an unreal brutal. I don't think he sucks. And so, but boy, how is any fantasy person giving advice going to fix their mouth and say you should take Ashton Jeanty 4 overall? Like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it.
He'll come up again later when we start to talk about love, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I'll give you your 10 through 16. I called this the Dream RB2, but as a lead back, I'm wary of them. All right, so you got number 10, Kyren Williams, number 11, Derrick Henry, 12, Chase Brown, 13, Kenneth Walker, now in Kansas City, 14, Breece Hall, 15, Javonte Williams, and 16, Bucky Irving. So I do think you're going to get shares of Kyren Williams. He was kind of in like that 17 to 18 range on kind of some people I picked around that. I don't dislike him. It's just one of these situations. You know my feelings. I got caught. I claimed that Blake Corum is going to supplant him for for the last year and a half or whatever. So I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if he was my RB2 paired up with one of the guys we said in the first 9. But you obviously are still a fan of the Rams. Was there any part of you that just goes Derrick Henry, Brown, Walker, and just kind of slide them ahead? or these guys are relatively interchangeable, you really happen to like Kyren Williams. Like, I think he could be a flag player if you're going to have him 10.
I'll be okay with that. I think some of it, I'm not doing blended ranks yet. I won't be doing that until I write the almanac and like really dig into the film. And someone like Kyren Williams probably don't have to dig into that much film. I think we know his act at this point, but I'll watch some of it, and some of it will just be like, where does he fold among the receivers? The argument against Kyren Williams, it would seem to me, be like, boy, there were good chunks of last season where he and Blake Corum were awfully interchangeable. Mm-hmm. And you can get nailed with games where instead it's like, oh, Kyle Monangai decided to be the main guy over DeAndre Swift, and I got totally biffed, And it didn't really happen too regularly. The Rams were kind of a wagon offensively. It does feel like one of those few offenses that we're kind of just going to trust. And if it goes bad, it goes bad. But like, they kind of proved it last year that everybody kind of ate on that offense. I'm not even going to argue that Blake Corum looks that much different than Kyren Williams does, but they did give the whole thing. You and me, the conversation about Kyren Williams is always like, well, let's see if they give him another deal. If they give him actual money, since he never, he didn't get drafted high, so he didn't make a ton of money. Like, if they give him actual money, we're skeptical. The Rams just move on from Cam Akers or whatever. And in fact, they paid him, and he's certainly going to be around this year and probably next year. Although I think there are ways out of the contract next year if he's bad or whatever. But I put Blake Corum 33. So, that's if it's probably not the absolute best second running back on his actual NFL team in my ranks. There are a couple guys, but it's pretty high. I think both are probably going to get used and usable. I don't know. Like I once again, I've not been negative on Kyren Williams in the past. Yeah. You were, and so like I kind of go, every time I evaluate him, I go, for what the Rams do, he's absolutely perfect, and they'll probably just keep doing it.
Yeah, I get it. It's interesting. I felt the same way. I was like, Derrick Henry, are we doing this again? And I'm, a Derrick Henry guy, but it's so tough when he goes, for 1,600 yards and 16. They don't really bring anything else in. Keaton Mitchell's gone. You're like, so it's him and Justice Hill. Like, yeah, I guess you could probably do worse than just taking Derrick Henry again. Like, is 32 really that old? Maybe in football years, but I just think he's one of these generational guys. And it's just,
the answer is yes. The answer is this is insane. Every year that goes by and he does it again, it's insane. But my question back to you is just, how do you weigh the risk that it's just over and it happens so suddenly? Because it does with running backs, happen so suddenly.
We saw with Marshawn Lynch. We've seen it with other guys.
How do you weigh the risk? I guess there's a world where I don't think it's stupid if somebody goes RB4 Derrick Henry. That's what he was last year. I'm just going to play it the way I'm supposed to play it. I guess he was RB6, but it was real close to RB4. I do think the math equation has to include the 32-year-old part of it, but then again, it included the 31-year-old part of it last year, and he rocked. Would you have Henry higher?
I think I'd probably have him 10. I'd probably have him ahead of Kyren, and I'd probably have, I'd have Chase Brown right after that and Walker, and so he's right there. He'd probably be 10 to 12 on my list. I think it's the right place for him. I'd love him as an RB2. But like you said, blended ranks, I haven't thought about it. I'd rather have Pook. I'd rather have Chase and some of those elite receivers. But I'd feel really comfortable about taking Derrick Henry in the second round. I think that's great.
We are sponsored by Wild Grain. I just got another delivery of Wild Grain. It is in my freezer this very second. If you love fresh bread with dinner, if you'd like to spice up your routine with some great fresh baked goods, if you love fresh pasta, give Wild Grain a try. What did I just get in this box? 2 loaves of sourdough, a Wild Grain pizza, which I've never had before, some insane chocolate chip cookies, got croissants, some pasta. It is all so good, and it all bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less, and yet it comes out as fresh as if you just got it at the bakery. I don't know how they do it, but you got to try it to believe it. No more Mission Impossible race to eat the bread you just bought at the store before it goes stale. It is so great to have. It's a subscription, but it's no long-term commitment. Wild Grain has over 40,000 5-star reviews. They've been voted best food subscription box by USA Today 3 years in a row. If you try it, you'll know why. I know you'll have an awesome time with Wild Grain, and I can get you $30 off your first box and free croissants in every box at wildgrain.com/Harris. $30 off your first box, free croissants in every box. Wildgrain.com/Harris. Seriously, check it out. Okay, we're back with Josh, and we are going to do a bunch more running backs here. So, Josh, you may lead the conversation.
Yeah, I guess we should probably touch really quickly on Kenneth Walker. I think that that's someone who, as we get to the summertime, could heat up just because we're coming off the Super Bowl win. You know, it's Amari DeMarcado, Brashard Smith, and Kenneth Walker. I know right now we're, TBD on Mahomes, but typically when our running back lands in Kansas City, it's just like the dream landing spot. So
how long has it been since it's been a dream landing spot?
So I was about to say, or so we think, because we've seen this before where people get drafted in round one and they landed in Kansas City. It's like, great, cool. That does nothing for them. But I think on paper, I'm curious, is this going to be one of these?
He's a really good player. You like him. I like him. We both
Robert
think he's
Pattinson,
terrific.
The Robert Pattinson of running backs.
He was definitely undervalued last year. We made money on him last year, and I
think it's the right spot for him. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just this feeling like, okay, is Kansas City's offensive line good? Do they have tackles? And is the quarterback ever going to be Mahomes? Is it going to be a real Mahomes type offense? It wasn't a good offense last year. It started out okay in September, and then it wasn't good from that point forward. And could I argue that part of it was because Isaiah Pacheco got hurt in a terribly meaningless situation where Andy Reid had no business keeping him on the field, and then Kareem Hunt was totally cooked, and they didn't have a running game? Could be, and maybe Walker's the cure to what ails them, and they gave him real money, and sure, like he deserves to be a fantasy starter. And again, you're weighing pros and cons. I think people listening probably have a good sense of what the cons are. Probably this would be a harder rank if Mahomes just had made it through completely healthy.
Yeah. I'll touch really quickly. I'm like, it's so sad that Breece Hall didn't end up in Washington. Like, I really was rooting for that, Chris. I think this is the right ranking.
Buddy, I mean, is it the right ranking? Because I just think all franchise tags hold out. I know, like, even George Pickens, who supposedly signed his friend, I just think they all hold out. I think there's a chance Breece Hall has downward mobility in this rank.
You think by the time we get to July, we're like, so he's 19 now, and we get to August, you're like, yeah, I got him 23. You could get to that situation.
Yeah, because I'm starting to take holdouts a little more seriously. There's enough Terry McLaurin crap that happens, Brandon Ayuk has stuff that happens, and you go, cool, so you're not going to hit the ground running well at all, and you're going to absolutely put me behind the 8 ball in August, or September rather. So
it's the right tier.
If anything, there's downward mobility. Like, I'm thinking of myself, drafting on August 20th when Breece Hall hasn't made an appearance in camp and is holding in, and I got a third round pick, and I got to choose between him and Javonte Williams. I'm going to be like, well, I know which one I think is better at football, but good Lord.
Yeah, I think I'd probably bump him down 5 spots. I want to ask you, Bucky Irving. Bizarre season last year, obviously, right? Hurt, came back, etc. He was a 13th, 14th ADP. I will say, I get slightly concerned when I see them pay Kenny Gainwell, like, whatever, $10 million guaranteed. I saw what Sean Tucker did hanging around in a couple of weeks. I'm curious. I just get concerned knowing that, his size. Is this just one of these situations where he ends up being a round 2 pick and you end up in one of these where I'm like, hey, man, so he's getting 14 touches and Gainwell's getting 7 and the pass work. And now Sean Tucker also comes in near the goal line. Like, I get a little bit worried about Bucky Irving there. I think it's the right place, but any thoughts on that Gainwell? I don't think he's a world beater, but I watched how Pittsburgh used him. I think that obviously Irving's better than Jaylen Warren, but I don't know. They went out and they paid him money. Any concern?
Yeah, they didn't pay real money. It's
2 for 14, 10 guaranteed. It's nothing. Yeah,
it's not nothing, but it's backup running back money. It's not nothing. It's not star money, but and I also don't think that the coaches don't think that when they're building a game plan. Well, we did give him. I mean, I know fantasy people say that all the time. They give him real money, they have to play him. No, they don't. They gave him real money to get him in the building. But, let's just say that it was a three-headed monster last year, too. We all kind of agreed that the combination of White and Tucker might be a bummer, but none of these guys have full-time jobs anymore. It's not an 85% running back work share league anymore. And I'm going to say I'm not going to hold getting hurt against him. I probably, I think if De'Von Achane had suffered the same injury, would people be like, no, he still needs to be in the top 10? I think they would be like, no, he's got to be 15, 16. I just got burned. I can't do it again. And it happened to Irving. So I don't know. I think he's really good. I think he's a very direct runner. Is it better or worse for him to have Gainwell in the backfield as opposed to Rachaad White? It feels like a wash. They're always just going to throw it to Rachaad White anyway. So they're going to throw it to Gainwell. I don't know.
That's fair. You can edit that part out. No, I'm kidding. All right, so we'll move on. 17 to 22. There's two guys that I want to talk about that your consensus that you're way lower.
Just say all of them. Say all of them.
All right, so 17 Travis Etienne, 18 Quinshaw Judkins coming off of surgery, 19 Jeremiah Love, 20 Travion Henderson, footy pajamas, 21 Cam Scatterbo, and 22 Amarian Hampton. You're right on target with Etienne or Etienne. Looked rejuvenated. I don't think we want to touch too much on him, but I will ask you, do you want to go ahead and warn people a standard Harris warning about drafting rookies at top 10 in their position? I think when I look around, I see him in kind of that 10 to 12 range at RB, and I'm like, yep. And again, I think it was a nightmare landing spot too. Kind of looking at that backfield, the team in itself, I think that'd be crazy to take him anywhere in kind of the top 15 overall. I know we just did this with Jeanty last year. Do you want to go ahead and warn people?
I mean, they know. I think there's way less pressure to rank, I assume, Jeremiah Love like really high. You're saying he's going to go 10. It's insane if he went RB10. It's insane. But I just think when push comes to shove and we get to training camp and all those bodies are there, sure, Trey Benson might get traded or cut. But I don't think Connor's going anywhere. I don't think Algier's going anywhere.
Nope.
And they're good players and they do a particular thing and it's got to do with touchdowns. And so like Love would be by far the one I would want, and he's going to be the number one pick in La Liga Dynasty rookie draft next week. And he's going to be good, but yeah, we don't need to be taken. I'm going to guess the Possums are not going to be super tempted by Jeremiah Love.
No. Amarian Hampton, though, I actually assumed he'd kind of be in that area with the Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving. I know it was a small sample size here, but I think we're going to start to hear a ton of like, dude, Mike McDaniels is there, man. Like, it was 9 games last year. I think he's going to settle in, and this is my call. I think he will be the hot name. And again, put on your Brooklyn flannels. I think he's going in that like RB 12 to 13 range. Like, it's the team's there. People are going to look around. It's like, well, I know it's Kamani Vidal, but Mike McDaniel's there, and look what he's done with Achane, and he's got some sample size of Hampton catching 7-8 balls in games. I think it's going to be the hot name in the summer. I know he didn't
play
more
than.
What
are you going to do?
I think I would probably have him in an initial ranking. I'd probably have him like 16. I probably would have him in that Bucky Irving area right off the bat. It's like I think I'm higher than you. I couldn't take him ahead of Chase Brown or Walker, but I think when you start to talk about like Hall, Williams, Irving, like I think you can sell me on that.
You could probably sell me on it too. We'll see how it goes. He has to pay an injury tax probably. Mm-hmm. It's Mike McDaniel being like the magic elixir for Amarian Hampton seems pretty crazy when they signed Keaton Mitchell. And if Keaton Mitchell, that's all we ever said about Keaton Mitchell in Baltimore is like, maybe he could be De'Von Achane. He's that size. He's that quickness. It seems crazy to me that then we go, oh, it's an amazing result for giant Amarian Hampton. I think he's, I got to the point where I was like Scatterbo and Hampton, the two of them.
Yeah.
I put them right next to each other. I don't think it's stupid that you're saying you would put him 6 spots higher than that, but I kind of think of him in the same bucket. Like, I need the big touchdown season. I need the you're a battering ram, but stay healthy. It needs to be proven to me that Amarian Hampton is like a special mover. I don't think you came away from last year convinced really even what kind of player he is. Are you?
No, I think in spots he looked impressive, but again, it's a small sample size, and it was like, all right, he started to hit that stride in those week 3, 4, 5. Then he was out for 6 weeks, and he came back, and it was like, all right, it's kind of okay. So I think you're taking a leap of faith, but I think if you're going to want to draft him, I think you're going to have to pay a tax, because I'm telling you, like, it's going to be this Chargers McDaniel stuff. Like, I know how this is going to go down. I could be wrong.
Yeah, keep going.
All right, next tier, I'll give you your 23 through 30. DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard, rookie Jadarian Price in Seattle, Bashal Tutin, Jalen Warren, J.K. Dobbins. This is a nice group of people here. I think that a lot of these people are going to go undervalued. It's typically where we switch to receivers, and this is going to be like that quote-unquote running back dead zone from like that 4 to 7 range. I can't do DeAndre Swift. I know how unsexy he is. He's part of a potential wagon offense, but like I just can't do it. We talk about him a ton. I will say I like the Montgomery landing spot here in Houston, and I think he's probably going to be on the better side of that kind of 60-40 split with Woody Marks. You could sell me on him kind of even 3-4 spots. I've seen him do this before in a tandem and be productive, and I think it's a great team for him. Any room for movement for you here, or just you kind of know what he is?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about Montgomery. We're guessing at Workshare. We're guessing at a lot of stuff that we're really not going to know the answer to till September. It probably can't go that bad.
Yeah.
So I feel like Chuba Hubbard went real bad last year. A terrible call by me, like terrible call overall. He went real bad, and can Dave Montgomery do that? I guess maybe, and maybe Hubbard was hurt. Like, the Panthers are not acting like they needed another running back. They let one go. They let Rico Dowdle go. So, maybe it was injury that I didn't really take seriously enough or know about or whatever. But I don't know that every running back, I guess, if they get attached to a wagon offense, has a 15 touchdown season as a possibility. But like, given a fairly normal, okay offensive environment, does Montgomery have the ceiling that Chuba Hubbard even does? I don't think so. I don't think he has DeAndre Swift ceiling. I don't think he has, God knows, but who Jadarian Price is. That just seems like a mess. I feel like that's probably, he needs to be my flex. If I really want to be okay with David Montgomery, I feel like right now I'm thinking he needs to be my flex.
Fair. I will say Tony Pollard, I'm intrigued, and that maybe that's because I own him in La Liga and I've been a subscriber. Can't say I love Bobby. What were you going to say?
I like the ears. That may be something that we need to start saying on the show.
I'm a subscriber to Tony Pollard.
We have it's Tony Pollard Yacht Club. Like, it's you pay the $5 a month because you have Tony Pollard.
It's the better version of like, yeah, I have stock in this guy. It's like, no, I subscribe to him. I'm not sure what to think of Bobby Salad. As someone who's a New York resident, I don't think he's usually welcome in New York. But I will say, like, Pollard was pretty solid last year, almost 1,300 yards. The TDs was rough because that team was just kind of stinky. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of over the Tajay Spears stuff. They get some upgrades on offense with Wan'Dale Robinson. They draft Tate. There's going to be a lot of talk probably in Cam Ward's second year. I think this is not a bad, like, I do agree, similar to Montgomery, like, it'd be a dream flex to have Pollard here. But I'm kind of intrigued at getting him in, like, the middle to late rounds. Like, there's always those running backs. We did it last year with Travis Etienne, who some of these guys have these big seasons. So I'm intrigued. I'll say that I could see him being a warp zone player later on.
Sure. It's going to come down to, I think if we can look at a player, again, I feel like I say this a lot, but it's good for everybody to hear here at the beginning, now that we're starting to, be able to think about orders of players and stuff. The guys we probably are going to wind up being interested in are the ones who are being dinged primarily because the market decides the situation is bad.
Yep.
And the ones that we're not that interested in are probably the ones that we, that get overexcited. The market gets overexcited about because they've decided the situation is infallible. And of course, the more important factor in all of that is whether they're good players. But, you and I aren't going to sit here and say Tony Pollard sucks. Has he ever been a top 10 running back in the league? No. He's probably never going to be. That's just kind of, he's a good starting level running back. And you're right. I mean, the key lesson of last year is just you had all the opportunity in the world to make Tyjae Spears an early down back, and you decided not to do it.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins, I was surprised that you had him 30, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but you had R.J. Harvey 32. And I know this is typically going to be one of these where most people rank them close to each other until we know what the health situation is and how that's going. But any chance you think by draft time you flip these two guys and it's Harvey ahead of Dobbins? Or I know you weren't a huge fan of Harvey last year. We've discussed this before.
Right, and now of course, as of our recording this, like we don't really, of course, we're not going to know for months. But you've heard about the Jonah Coleman hype. That now Jonah Coleman is the one that will play on third downs, and so where's R.J. Harvey going to play then? And I don't believe these rumors because obviously it's nonsense. But people are taking things that offhanded comments at press conferences and turning them into 1,000-word articles. So if Jonah Coleman's really a thing, I don't think it's Dobbins that he's stealing from.
Fair enough.
I'm going to guess that Jonah Coleman isn't a thing right away, and we're still talking about a Dobbins-Harvey kind of arrangement with a little mix-in of anybody else, and it's really affecting all the quote-unquote other guys. But, please don't tell me, all you R.J. Harvey enthusiasts out there, that, you're off that bandwagon and now you're totally in on Jonah Coleman. Oh, boy.
Love it. All right, 31 through, I'm going to go 42 because I wrote in here, great lotto guys. So 31, Ramondre Stevenson. 32, R.J. Harvey. Blake Corum. Chris Rodriguez now in Jacksonville. Rashad White. Rico Dowdle in Pitt. Kyle Monangai. Aaron Jones. Tyler Algier. Kenny Gainwell. Woody Marks. And Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I won't dare say Bill on this podcast. We go by proper names, Chris. So it's Ja'Cory Merritt or JCM. Nothing else is acceptable. We talked to Ramondre Stevenson, I remember in the summertime, because you're like, look, if people are going to go ahead and pick TreVeyon Henderson as RB12, I'm just going to take a huge discount on Ramondre Stevenson. I've seen how they use them both. Even towards the end of the season, you're like, why do people think that you're just going to stop using Ramondre Stevenson? He's been good. I'm curious if by draft time we even get a bigger discount on Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, you're Mr. New England. You watch these guys. It's your hometown.
We didn't talk about TreVeyon, but it's a good opportunity to do it right now. I don't know what the market. I have them 20 and 31 right now, and to be honest, these are you can call these standard if you want to call it half PPR ranks. These are certainly not full PPR ranks. Why, Josh? Yeah. Why are these not full PPR ranks?
PPR is for kids.
For children. And I don't even think that there's a big difference. I don't think TreVeyon gets some massive bump because in full PPR, the way that people thought he would. He didn't look good doing anything except for when you gave him a wide open lane, he could run real far and real fast. But I think we do have to rank these Patriot guys to account for growth from TreVeyon Henderson, that he's now been through it once and he's seen it. And hopefully there are probably some things he'll just never be able to do. And there's maybe a little Tevin Coleman in him, a little Turkey Mayo in him. But the Patriots also have very clearly made a statement that they are interested in multi-tight end formations. They signed Vera Tucker to play one of the guard positions. They drafted an alternate tackle in the first round to potentially be the third tight end on a they want to mash a little more, I think. And to be honest, mashing sounds more like a Ramondre thing, but if you are able to run power and not get steamrolled the way they did a lot last year, there can be some of those home run lanes for TreVeyon Henderson. The concern if you pick TreVeyon to be your RB2 or higher, I guess we'll see what his ADP winds up being, is it's like last year, and sure that overall numbers look good, but it was 4 games, 4 explosions, and otherwise he can't help you. The upside, though, would be it's just kind of different, and they figure out some better offensive line play, and there's just more lanes more frequently for TreVeyon. So, I mean, I think, You might be right. Like Steve, I might be like Stevenson strikes me, as are many of the higher level backups at the position, as being the way the NFL treats running backs right now. Like they become viable flexes.
Yeah. Again, I hate to say just like, man, I adore this 31 to 42 group, but I just know how this goes. And this is where you take a couple of these guys. I mean, we saw, and we'll talk about them in a second, but what Rico Dowdle did in Carolina, you end up getting 5, 6 really useful weeks from people. I could see the same thing. Blake Corum, I wrote league winning question mark, because what you said is, do I think he's a better running back than Kyren Williams? No. If Kyren Williams was out 4 weeks, do I think each week you'd be ranking Corum in the top 15? Yeah, I do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I would love to take a stab and get some of these guys, even, the Woody Marks, same situation. If something were to happen in Montgomery, like I've seen him do the role, I've seen him be productive. And you say it each year, other than those top 5 to 7 guys, the Jonathan Taylors and on, like a lot of these guys are getting 15 or 16 touches. And if you know each week you're going to get 14
It's so
carries
funny.
from Tyler Algier, or if you said, hey, this week it's, you're going to get from Krosky Merritt 17 touches, you go, oh, I'm not even put him right in RB2 flex. You don't even think twice.
Right.
So it's really
It's so-
important to get some of these guys on your team.
It's so funny to think of how we used to think about handcuffs. And none of these guys we just mentioned are handcuffs. They are handcuffs, but they're not being drafted in the 14th round the way we used to draft handcuffs. Useless until the useless until guys are now ranked in the 70s. Like they're the third stringers. None of the guys you just mentioned in that range are unused. I mean, going into the season, unusable on the face of it without a starter injury. We are sponsored by Blue Land. Now, I was talking with my graphic designer friend a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the news can really make you feel crummy. Everything is bad and bad for you or bad for the planet. It is easy to doom spiral and feel like there's nothing that we can do to help. But Blue Land is something I have done. I have changed my cleaning products here aboard the yacht. I use nothing but Blue Land for hand soap and dish and laundry detergent and toilet bowl cleaner and cleaning sprays and more stuff than that. And it really is making a difference because I don't throw away nearly as much plastic anymore. The cleaning supplies, they're all great. Blue Land is a certified B Corp and Leaping Bunny cruelty-free certified. Their formulas are EPA Safer Choice certified, and many products have also earned Cradle to Cradle's gold medal health certificate. So the clean is great. And you keep one bottle, and they send you tablets, and you add water, and suddenly your household has way less microplastics in your dang food, and you're throwing away so much less plastic. Small victories, people. This is one of them. Check them out. It's a change you can make like I have. Go to blueland.com/Harris. You'll get 15% off your first order. Blueland.com/Harris for 15% off. Blueland.com/Harris. Okay, we are back with Josh, and we got through a lot of running backs. Did you have anybody else on the list you wanted to have a conversation about?
Yeah, I mean, just because Chris, you and I have been doing this for a decade. I feel like I was a kid when we first started doing this, but I see Alvin Kamara on here. He's always been someone we adore. Number 48. It's a Grim Reaper time for him where we're just like,
That was such a placeholder rank.
I know.
I don't think he's on that team. He's under contract as of our recording this. I think he retires. I don't think he's on that team. I didn't know what to do with him. If he's really somebody's like nominal number one running back, then he probably belongs a little higher than 48. But this is of all the guys, it's like I have no idea. I don't think he's in the league. Kind of.
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how interesting Braylon Allen is. I think as like you said earlier, if the holdout for Breece Hall continues, I think we'll see him drop and Allen increase. I'm not saying to a place where he's, top 24, but he'll get to that Ramondre Stevenson area, J.K. Dobbins area. Again, the team is a cesspool, so I think that kind of holds him back. But, you remember what people were doing last year at this time from, the word on the street is that, he's supplanted Breece Hall, or this is a 50-50 split. And people
I remember.
they
were wrong.
Again,
it turned out they were wrong, Josh. Turned out they were not correct.
Yeah, I think on my what did you learn this year is that I am not going to listen to the beat reporters on some of these types of things and alter ranks because of it, because we do it every year.
Right. I mean, let's be fair. Braylon Allen gets hurt and misses, all but the first month of the season. So who knows what might have happened, what plans they might have had. But he did not open the season in an even split with Breece Hall.
No. I thought Tyron Tracy at 45 is interesting. I think he gets some usable weeks. A lot of that'll come down to Cam Scadaboo's health. So that'll be interesting. But I think he's not.
Devin Singletary is still being there.
I know.
If he is, there's a chance he's not. But I mean, he's under contract. Yeah, there's a chance.
Other than that, I know you mentioned him earlier, Keaton Mitchell. I've always been a fan of him. I used to have him on my La Liga team. I think I dealt him, but I liked him in Baltimore before he got that injury and came back, and he's fully healthy now. Like you said, he gets a new lease on life with the Chargers. We don't exactly know. I guess we shouldn't say we don't exactly know, but small sample size from Hampton. So he's not a bad late-round flyer, and I always like Sean Tucker. I draft him each year. I know I got a couple of decent weeks, but for someone as a third stringer, I just think he's a decent running back. Like, he's someone, if you're listening and you're in La Liga, I give you a fourth rounder in this year's draft for him, if whoever has him.
Fourth.
I'm
really
kidding.
generous.
I'm
kidding. Fourth round rookie pick,
but I do like Sean Tucker. He's someone I draft each year because I just think he's a good player.
Sure. And we are obviously at the dart throw, maybe in a 10-team league, none of these guys should be drafted kind of area. But it's so I put Mitchell and Vidal back to back because I don't know. But I think there's a role there for somebody, and let's see how it goes. And for a little while, Vidal wasn't under contract, and I was like, "Oh, if he leaves, Mitchell starts to get real interesting." And now, he deserves to be back. He had a really good year. He played really well. And then just the talked about it with Andy on the Yacht Club on Monday, but the shocker 49er pick of Kalen Black that nobody had ranked anywhere near where they took him. It's what I wanted to ask you is, has Shaney Jr., has he lost that kind of benefit of the doubt? It used to be that because the zone blocking, the Shaney system was so good that anytime he drafted a running back, we just went, you got to put a chip on him. You got to try. You got to take him in a dynasty rookie draft. You got to spend a late round pick on him. You got to try. He's missed so many times in a row now. Do you feel like that's worn off?
I think it's worn off. I saw a video or two, and I'm sure everyone else watches whatever, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, he looked confused. Did he know that was the pick? I'd have to assume he was aware. I mean, it seemed bizarre. Everyone felt really confused when that happened. Wasn't anywhere near that on people's boards. It was okay. I think it's lost its luster. I think it's McCaffrey, and it's been a while since we've gotten anyone else productive there.
And yet, he's the biggest guy. We have the biggest worry that he'll get used way too much and get destroyed, and then somebody, presumably, that's always been the point. And can we, just the list of names is Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon and Tyrion Davis Price and Isaac Guerrero and Jordan James. Suddenly I'm supposed to believe in Jordan James when he couldn't get in the field last year. I'm not that tempted by Kalen Black. I'm not that tempted to chase any backup 49er running back.
I think what ends up happening is you get one game where Isaac Guerrero does 15 for 110 in a TD because he's a breakaway, and they go, Shanahan did it again. The genius. And we pretend like he's Sam Presti, and it's like, oh, everything he does is a dream.
Yeah, there hasn't been a running back that's been worth anything that he's taken in the last however many years. Since did Mike Davis count? Did he even draft him? I'm not even sure Shanahan was there for Mike Davis. But but certainly those other five guys I mentioned, it's been pretty rough. All right, well, so for the rest of the running back ranks, you can look at harrisfootball.com. I'll paste them in the show notes as well. By the time you see them, there will be PPR on the website as well, I promise. So you want to move on and do my favorite position in the world?
Chris, I know this is the real part of the show that you were waiting for. We could talk about tight ends. I know how strong your feeling is on tight ends, and we do it every year, which is I'm not going to get one of the first two guys or the first five guys probably, unless it's an absurd discount. But we'll go through this.
Yeah.
All right.
Quickly,
I think
we'll do it. Yeah.
This is a clear one, too. It's Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. I might flip them here. And I was a Trey McBride owner last year, but I got him in round 5, so I think that just became a no-brainer. But
right. Injury paranoid Josh is willing to forgive Brock Bowers for the disaster?
I'm just saying I probably flip them ranking wise, but they're interchangeable. Am I getting either of these guys? No, because they'll probably go end of two, early three in most drafts, and I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So interchangeable. We don't have to spend time in there. I did think the next five guys were interesting. Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin, and Kostin Loveland. It's interesting. I think people are pretty down on Laporta. He was on the bottom of this group for most people at like that 7 range. So who knows, Chris? Maybe you're going to be a Sam Laporta flag planter this year. Could you imagine that?
The problem is that ADP's
I
tight
know.
end 7 will be my tight end 2. You know, like I
Correct.
just probably, but maybe. I mean, you know, what are we if we're not punishing Brock Bowers? How are we punishing Sam Laporta? That seems wild.
Yeah, people
Doesn't
are
it?
high on Warren. I looked around; he was the 3 for most people, and I thought, like, all right, I'd probably have Laporta ahead of him. I like Loveland of this group because I just think you can probably get the best deal on him. Attached
Not if you talk to
kinda-
Andy. Not
I
if
was
you talk
about
to
to
Andy
say,
Barris. Yeah.
unless you're drafting in the league with someone from Chicago. But I like
What is-
this group.
Yeah, is Fannin considered part of this group?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
He is.
this McBride and Bowers, and then it looks like Warren, Loveland, and Fannin are kind of, and Laporta are kind of that next 3 to 4, and they've been interchangeable. Kraft,
What
you're
about
high
Kraft?
on. Yeah, he's
Oh,
kind
okay.
of 8 in most places, so maybe you'll get Kraft.
I mean, people need
again,
to remember what that was like. Unbelievable. I mean, you know, it comes down to whether he fixes his knee, but he's the next guy. If he's right, he's the
Yeah.
next guy. You know, we can file this away. It's all going to come down to. But that injury happened in a reasonable amount of time for him to be ready. We're not going to know for a while, and it's a bad injury, and not all torn knee ligaments are created equal, and it's a possibility we'll get negative reports and we'll have to downgrade him. But
I
you
do
remember
like
what
this
that was
group,
like,
though.
right?
Oh yeah, he was absurd before he went down.
Absurd.
I love this group. Again, it's all going to come down to cost. Am I going to pick one of them in the first 4 or 5 rounds? No, but I think you kind of get to 6, 7 or something like that. 6, 7 for the kids. And one of these guys is still there. I think I probably do it. If not, there's another 8, 9 guys I'd be content with.
I don't care. I don't
yeah.
care. I want Brenton Strange. I have a feeling I'm going to be high on him. He's 8 for me.
Yeah, he was kind of in like that 15 to 17 range in most things, so I think you might be
wow.
fine waiting and getting him.
Boom.
Again, these are initial
Can we
rankings.
flag player? Can we send him a flag in at the end of April? Is that all right?
I think you might be able to. If you want to call your shot now, go for it. I'll give you some credit. But yeah, he's like 16 to 17 on most lists. But I get it. I get the yeah.
I think he's really good. I think he's another. He reminds me of McBride. I think he's another one of those freako. I think he's really good. The problem with tight end is just I think he's really good, and I don't think he has a 100-yard game in his life. He didn't last year anyway.
No.
It's just it's frustrating that the 3 for 27 is sitting there. But he also got hurt last year, and then I'm not sure he ever got right after he got hurt. But yeah, I would be willing to. The thing about tight end is I'm very, very militant, as everybody knows, that I don't want to take one in the freaking 3rd or 4th round.
I know.
It's just never, ever, ever going to happen. But once you get to the 8th, 9th, 10th tight end, I'm the least militant whoever. Pick your flavor. Wait and wait and wait and pick your guy, because it doesn't matter. You'll just look for a Tunyon. You'll throw him away and you'll pick up someone else. And last year, that answer kept changing, and we didn't wind up with one guy. Oronde Gadsden was him for like 6 weeks, and then we were like, okay, we have to give up again. It's not working anymore. But history tells us, as frustrating as it can be, eventually you land on someone you can use.
Yeah, I'll give you your 8 through Kittle is what I'm calling it.
8 through
Brenton
Kittle.
Strange, Juwan Johnson, Dallas Goedert, Travis Kelce, Jake Ferguson, Kyle Pitts, Oronde Gadsden, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. I will say, and I know you kind of just said it, but that's how I feel about the tight end position. Like, there's that first group of 7 guys, and I'd like to get one of them. I will never reach for them. If they land in my lap, awesome. If not, I'll look at this and go, you know what? I'm just going to have a fail-safe of I'm in a league with, call it 12 people, and if my 12 is Jake Ferguson, that's fine. No one's going to double up on tight end. I'll go in, and that could be fine. It could end up being tight end 6. like you said, Aronde Gadsden, there were 3, 4 weeks in a row where you were just people are ranking him 5, 6. It's just it fluctuates so much, and I'm sure there's guys we're not even naming now that there'll be a 3 week span where you're like, dude, you see Kenyon Sadiq, man? Now I get why the Jets did this.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mark Andrews was a nightmare earlier on in the year, and then there was this point for like 3 weeks where he was scoring a touchdown every week, and you're like, huh. So
right. How many tight ends had over 1,000 yards receiving last year?
I am gonna say, I'm just looking at the names. It's either one or two.
It's one. It's McBride,
just
and it was
McBride.
great. It was 1,211. It was unbelievable. And Bowers was hurt. Even when he was playing, he was hurt. You can, Tyler Warren was on a pace before Daniel Jones. Like, I get
That's
it.
what I
But the
thought
bottom
that
line
it-
is
yeah.
there just aren't a lot of numbers in tight ends. There just aren't a lot of numbers. And so there's just really no reason to freak out about the position and never, ever pay for one. And it'll come down to you and I will spend some time in August trying to make a case for, hey, for your first stab in week 1, here's my suggestion for the guy that you could maybe wait for and get. And we're not going to be sure about it, but we're going to try to look at traits. I mean, I thought Aronde Gadsden had some really good traits. He looked like an interesting player. They just never threw it to him down the field. And that's why Brenton Strange, I see him make double moves and go down. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that, but I'm not by any means sold. I mean, Juwan Johnson had a massive year. I think he was 3rd in yards. He was 12th in scoring because he scored 3 touchdowns. But there's an argument that says Juwan Johnson, converted wide receiver, figuring it out. Of course, they draft a receiver in the first wide out in the first round. Maybe there's more mouths that are more reliable. But my bottom line is hey, you get great reports on Kittle, mirror Jason Tatum level recovery from the torn Achilles. We're all about it. I don't care. I'm going to make cases for players, but I'm not going to be really dug in. I'm going to be willing to punt the hell out of Brenton Strange if he's bad for 3 weeks in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, when I like tight end, Chris, when it's towards the end of the year and my team's performing well and they're 7-4 and the trade deadline's coming up and I have an excess somewhere and I can trade McBride
That's
or Brock
right.
Bowers, whoever it is, and I'm like, I need that last piece to win a title. I don't
But
like
Josh,
paying
I
the
can't
premium.
trade him to you. I can't trade him to you. I took him in the 4th round. Yeah, that's your problem.
Correct. You did that to yourself. But that's how this goes down. I'd rather gamble if I can't get the guys I want and give me Kyle Pitts or give me Ferguson, and I'll figure it out later on in the year.
100%. And we didn't even say the name. You said the name, but we didn't talk about Kyle Pitts, who I assume will be ranked higher than I have him ranked.
Yeah, you have him 13. I think, look, people are not doing the 8-9, but I think he's kind of in that 11 to 12. He's going to be a tight end 1 on some team.
I think he's going to be an 8-9. And I don't think that's crazy. I'm not mad at Kyle Pitts. As long as Kyle Pitts isn't going in the top 5 among tight ends, and you're like, you know what? I'll take a chance that last year proved a little something, and it's a new coaching staff, and they'll use him a little more. It's just not going to cost enough for me to be mad at you. Just don't be spending your 6th round pick on Kyle Pitts. I don't think that's a good investment because there's too much that can go wrong. But your 9th round pick, there's no world where you're going to be mad at that, right?
No, it's fine. Again, if you're ranking him 6 and you're taking him in round 5 because the first 5 tight ends went out, and you're like, and I get the message from a friend of mine or a coworker so man, tight ends went crazy and I didn't want to get left with one and I took Pitts in round 5. I'm going to go, yeah, man, I'm sorry. That's going to be the response.
Yeah, no reason to do that. No reason to do that. We didn't say the name Isaiah Likely. I'm sure there are a lot of New Yorkers who are very mad about that.
You have 19 on here. Again, I mean, Chris, realistically, when you go into the draft, how many people, well, I'd say this. I rank about 25 tight ends, and I just, like you just said, I really kind of have about 7 or 8 of them bolded. If someone is complaining that Dalton Schultz wasn't, discussed today, get a life. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz in particular, likely at least has some unknown upside that he's never been treated like a starter before. Yeah. If you sell to me that Isaiah Likely turned in a 1,200-yard season, I'll be like, wow, that would surprise me. If I really thought that was in his range of outcomes, I would put him higher. I'm not putting anybody, at from 17 and below that I think has a really massive season in his range of outcomes. But, likely Sadiq, Terrence Ferguson, we think that Rams will always use 3 tight ends, but Ferguson exerts himself in such a way that he just has to prove ceiling. Those would be the guys where you'd go, wow, you missed the possibility that those guys would go crazy and be more focal points in their offense. And I would understand the argument, but in the case of the Giants and the Jets, just how much needs to go right for that to be the case. To say nothing of the fact that Theo Johnson was, he's still going to be there. And he was exactly what people hope Isaiah Likely will be this year. That's what everybody said about Theo Johnson last year. So I couldn't get there.
I do like looking at this list because I see stuff even guys like Cade Otton where you get a 2-week span, a 3-week span where Ibuka's knocked out and you're like, oh, I'll just put in Otton, get my 5 catches for 55 yards. There's so many of these guys who are interchangeable. Yeah, you just go, oh, I'll pick them up for $1 this week and throw them in for 2 weeks.
Exactly. All right, well, I think we made it through enough names, yeah?
Yeah, I think this is good. Unless anyone wants to hear us talk about Colby Parkinson, I'm not sure. Or Evan Ingram, the Joker. I mean, he's down at 29 now.
The Joker. Gunnar Helm. At 27, Gunnar Helm outdoes them all. Jake Tonjes, the second 49er tight end at 26. All right, well, these obviously they're on the website, and they're also in the show notes, and I'm going to put PPR for running back on the website as well. You can go get the pre-order the almanac right now if you'd like to. You got plenty of time to do it, but feel free to get it out of the way now. And Josh will be back on the show next week. We'll do the same thing with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. I hope you're looking forward to that, my friend.
Always a pleasure, dude. Do it again soon.
And thank you so much for listening. Let me thank the 3 wonderful sponsors that made today's show possible. We had Lisa, Wild Grain, and Blue Land. I am a real user and believer in those 3 companies and their products. I got to tell you, they've been with me for years, and I swear by all 3 of them, that's for sure. You can find details about how you can become part of their families in the show notes in today's show, and then all the current sponsors are listed at harrisfootball.com. I don't expect every person listening that they're always going to pick every sponsor. Of course not. But if there's one that you find a little interesting and you have the means and you have a need, wonderful to let them know that you heard about them here on the show. I always give that little note, and then I always say, the reason they come back is you all do it, and I appreciate it so much how much ownership you take of the show. That was a blast. Had such a good time. Wonderful to have Josh back on the show. So we're gonna run it back. We're going to do it again next week. On Thursday, Josh will be back to do the same thing where we'll talk about the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. And, we won't get to everybody because that's what almanacs are for. But, I'll get to the names that he's interested in and just, my initial thoughts about why I landed where I did. Pre-film watch, really trying to sort it all out. But this is, kind of my first stab. Again, you can find the ranks that we talked about today in today's show notes, and you can find PPR ranks. They're now up at harrisfootball.com as well. The running backs and the tight end lists will be up there right now as of my posting this. The quarterbacks and the wide receivers, not so much. I haven't made them yet, but I will do that this weekend. We'll talk about them next Thursday. Andy and I will be on the Yacht Club on Monday to probably talk some initial rank stuff, definitely to do a film futures or whatever it's called. That's going to be a blast. You can order the almanac if you'd like. You have plenty of time. You can drop me a note if you'd like to volunteer and meet me and figure out where we can do a reading and just kind of a meetup, just an opportunity, hopefully, to meet some fans of the show in lots of different places. That would be a blast. Again, you can write me at heyharris@harrisfootball.com. That is going to do it for me today, and I can't say I'm immediately going to go do rankings, but I'm excited for probably on Saturday, spend most of the day figuring out how I feel about the wide receivers. What a mess. There's so many of them, but it's going to be fun, and the quarterbacks as well, and we'll be back here next week to talk about it. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you next time.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.